From the John DeVita Broadcast Center, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Opinions with Joe Rouse on the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network. And now, here is Big Joe.
And good afternoon, everybody. This is Big Joe, and you're listening to Opinion. We're going to start today's show out. So I can explain a little bit about the show to you. This is a show about expression, I guess you could say. All of us are entitled to an opinion about anything and everything. It's not an argument. We don't want to argue with people. Everybody thinks differently. Everybody sees things differently. You know, the old saying is there's two sides to every coin. So your opinion is very important, and you build an opinion by the more you learn throughout life, your opinion changes about things. And this is what this show's about, is your opinion, my opinion, everybody's opinion. What we're going to do, now this is all recorded, but we're going to have another show on the 19th of November at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. If you are free that day and you feel like you want to join in on the conversation, you could feel free to call us here at the Broadcast Center on the Northwest Side at Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network. The phone number would be 708-453-5114. Again, that's 708-453-5114. You call, Big Joe will be here to talk with you, and we could share our opinions on things. It's very important that you have an opinion and you share it with your friends. It's not an argument. You know, just because you think differently than somebody else, that doesn't mean they're right and you're wrong, or you're right and they're wrong. It's your opinion. You're entitled to it. Share it. Embrace it. Love it. Okay. So, and before we go on, I just want to mention a friend of mine lost his grandchild at a college the other day due to an illness. And it really brought something home for me. You know, you think kids are indestructible today, whether you're in high school, college, you know, you're 18, 20 years old. Well, you're not. You know, if you, just food for thought. If you don't feel right, have it checked out. This young man didn't feel good. Something was wrong. He went to see the nurse. They gave him some medicine. A couple of days later, they found him passed away in his dorm. There's no explanation for it. It's just that if you don't feel good, get yourself checked out. It's very important. Life is too short to ignore anything. All right. Well, on with the show. Again, if you want to get involved, on Tuesday, November 19th at 5 p.m., you can call in the show and talk with me at 708-453-5114. All right, first we're going to talk about school. What's better for a student today? You know, you're graduating high school, you got your whole future in front of you. Is college your choice? Is the armed services your choice? Just going and doing a trade school? What's the best choice for a kid today? You know, everything's getting more and more expensive. You know, I know so many kids are going to college today. They're taking college loans out. And they graduate from college after 4 years, 5 years, whatever it takes to get their degree. And they have a hard time finding work because there's not a lot of it out there right now. And now they got these college loans they got to pay back, or their parents have to pay back, and they're looking for work. And now, are you going to find a job in the field that you went to school for, which is very important? You know, these are all things you have to take into consideration. You know, some kids are very lucky out there. Parents can afford to pay for their college tuitions. They don't have to take out loans, and it works out for them. But if you go to school, you got to get the grades, you got to pay back the loans, you got to work, you got to find work. It could be very stressful on you and very costly. Now you got the armed forces. Well, there's a little bit, that's the other side of the coin. There's some risk there. You got to go there. You got to go through a boot camp where they beat you up or whatever they do to you. But the beautiful thing is they train you. They teach you whatever you want, whatever it is you go in for. You want to be a medic, or you want to be a gunner, you want to be a mechanic, you want to be in intelligence. As long as you qualify, you can pretty much pick what you want to do, and they'll train you. And the beautiful part about the service, the armed forces, is they train you, they pay you, they feed you, and they house you. You go in for 4 or 5 years. When you're done, you don't owe anybody anything. And you can continue on with school, and they'll pay for it. Now, I'm not telling anybody to do anything. That's between you and your parents and all that. It's just that everybody has to weigh their situation, what's best for them. I have a son that went to the armed forces. I embraced it. He embraced it, and it worked out fine for him. God forbid anything were to happen the 4 years he spent there. But you know what? Kids today, it doesn't matter where you're at. Anything could happen to you at any time. So it's very important you make a decision of what you want to do and how you want to do it. And the beautiful thing about the armed forces too is when you come out here, you're a lot more mature. You get a much better training. Hey, there's nothing wrong with going to college. I know guys that went to college and they make friends there and they're lifetime buddies, and it's a great experience. It's a great life experience. There's pluses and minuses to both things. But you need to sit down with yourself and figure out what's best for you and what's going to work out best for you. And I would love to get some feedback on that from anybody out there and what their opinions are. I know everybody's anti-war, and we all are. Nobody wants war, and there's really not much going on today. So it's pretty safe. And who knows where you could go? I know guys that traveled the world being in the services. So, it's all good. It's just what you think works best for you. And I'd love to hear your opinion on that. So, if on the week of November 19th, Tuesday afternoon at 5 p.m., feel free to call and we'll bring this subject up again. And the number is 708-453-5114. Anything we talk about today or the date of our next broadcast, you could bring up and feel free to talk about it. I would love to bounce some ideas off of each other and hear your opinion. And again, an opinion's an opinion. It's not an argument. We're not debating. We're just sharing. It's called sharing. And that's a good thing. Okay, now, next I like to talk about is there's all kinds of things that we have to put up with as teenagers and growing up, like curfews and rules and laws about cell phones and smoking and all that. So I would like to talk about curfews. Does it really keep people out of trouble? Now, depending on your age. Like here, you got, certain holidays like Halloween. You got to be in the house at certain night. If you're under a certain age, you got to be in by 9 o'clock. Now, is that the curfews work? Do the parents keep their kids in the house after 9 o'clock? If they're not, whose fault is that? Does it help keep the teens out of trouble? Or does it matter if they're just bad kids or they just want to do the wrong thing? That's what they're going to do. What do you think about that? How about computers? Are we so dependent on computers today that we can't do anything on our own? I know that when I go into the store and I get change from whatever it is I'm purchasing, if I'm using cash, if that register doesn't tell the person how much the change is, they don't know how much to give you. I was in a restaurant about a week ago, and their computer system went down. Do you know that they had to go and ask the people that were eating there if they had cash to pay for the bill, or they had to write down their charge card numbers on a piece of paper so they could run them once the computers went up? So my opinion is we are way too dependent on computers today. Maybe too much. I think it's moving too fast for us. I think we need to slow down and really take a step back and look at what we're doing, because we're much too reliant on computers. That's my opinion. I'd love to know what yours was. And then how about our cell phones? Dangerous. They say holding the cell phone to your head could give you brain damage after so much time. There's so many things they talk about these cell phones and what they could do to you. How about just playing with them while you're in your car? Radios in the day used to be a distraction when you were driving because you're changing the station as a kid and all that stuff. Now, with the cell phones, the people are talking at them. They're texting. Even if you're voice texting, you're still not paying attention to the road. Even talking on a phone, you're not concentrating on what you're doing. So, yes, cell phones are very dangerous. They're a convenience, and that's what they should be used for. Be careful. Put that phone down when you're driving the car. Let somebody else in the car do the talking on the phone. You pay attention to where you're going. I've seen so many accidents and fender benders because people talking on the phones. It's ridiculous. Not to mention people putting makeup on or getting their electric razor out while they're driving to work in the morning. It's amazing all the distractions we give ourselves in the car. My opinion is, when you get in the car, the only thing that should be in your hand is your steering wheel. That's it. I'm not even sure a cup of coffee is healthy to have in the car. Because when you bring that thing up to your mouth and it burns your lip, you're distracted. And it only takes a split second for something to go wrong when you're driving, especially if there's bad weather or a lot of traffic. And how about Big Brother with the red light cameras? How do you feel about that? Those were there to promote safety. Now, how safe are those cameras? I see people hitting the brakes when the lights are just turning yellow long before, where they're more than welcome to go through a yellow light because they just slam on their brakes, and then the guy behind them slams into them. They're so afraid of that $100 ticket. I don't know. I'm not sure if it's really a safety issue or if it's a money issue for these villages and towns in the city of Chicago now. Plus, are they an invasion of your privacy? On the other hand, they do have a good thing. Is God forbid something goes wrong and the camera's activated, they have a video of what happened. So if somebody did something criminal, they could find them.
Joe, I'm going to tell you about the red light cameras, what happened up on Route 12 and Route 134 in Fox Lake, Illinois.
Okay.
You know where that is? I'm
yes,
sure
I
you
do.
know. Okay.
Yes, I do.
Northbound on 12, they had a red light camera.
Okay.
A family in an SUV, there's a mother, father, 2 or 3 kids, and some kids' friends were in the SUV. They were heading up to Lake Geneva. They were going down Route 12. They come up to 134. The light changed. The father slammed on the brakes.
Yeah.
A semi was behind them.
Oh, no.
Couldn't stop.
No.
And killed the whole entire carload of people.
Oh, my Lord.
Everybody was. And the car, the SUV was about as flat as a newspaper or that paper that's sitting in front of you.
Right. It's a shame.
But guess what? Now that tragedy happened, they removed that red light camera from there. Yep. But it had to take a tragedy for that.
Right.
And what surprises me is that the insurance companies allow that, those cameras.
Right. Yeah.
Also, in the city of Chicago, right down on the other side of Irving Park Road.
Yes.
Here, they've got these speed bumps.
Yes.
And they've got these circle, or whatever the heck they call them.
Yeah, right, where you got to go at the intersections,
okay.
Right.
Now, can you imagine the fire department responding to a fire where the flames are shooting out the windows, people are trapped, and they have to come up and slow down at these speed bumps?
Right. John, the whole speed bump thing is ridiculous. People, and I tell you, it's the biggest mistake people make. They think because they got the kids, it's going to slow everybody down. But once they get them, they hate them.
Mm-hmm.
Can't plow the streets in those circles. How does a fire truck even get around those circles?
Well, you take a hook and ladder truck company.
Ain't making it. Ain't doing it.
I know. Now, right down the street from us here, one night I was coming home, and I didn't realize there was a speed bump there. I hit the speed bump.
Right.
And I hit it hard. You know what happened?
You bottomed out, probably tore off your muffler.
No, I didn't tear off the muffler. I broke the ground between my motor and the chassis.
Really?
And I couldn't figure out why my alarm on the truck wasn't working, why different things on the truck wasn't working. So I took it into the dealer up in Elkhorn, Wisconsin, and they told me that I had snapped the ground between the chassis and the motor. And I had no ground there.
Because you bottomed out when you hit that bump.
Yeah. So that and a couple other things cost me $1,300.
Holy cow.
Yeah, because I did quite a bit of damage to the ground and some other stuff on the truck, plus a fuel pump that went out.
Yeah. Yeah, those speed bumps are they're a terrible thing. They're nothing. They cause a lot of damage to cars, and unless they are really painted white or lit up, you don't see them. At nighttime, you can't tell they're there. And it's not even that you're speeding. You're doing the speed limit. When you hit those things, you got to be crawling. If you're doing 15, 20 miles an hour over a big speed bump, you're doing damage to your car unless you're driving a big SUV. Then you're just going to be bouncing your head off the roof of the car probably. So, but yeah, the speed bumps are bad, John. And those red light cameras are very dangerous. It's very sad to hear about that family, but you see it all the time where people are slamming on their brakes and the car behind them just can't stop. So, and these are all just things for you listeners out there to be aware of when you're driving. You know, before you had to worry about what was in front of you and on your sides. Now you got to worry about who's coming up behind you. Sadly enough to say, I've even been in circumstances where I was at a stoplight or I had to stop, but I looked in my mirror and I could tell the guy behind me is not going to be able to stop in time. So I either would move over to the left or right to get out of his way or pull up a little more if I could just to give that person behind me a little more braking time. And I'm telling you, it saved me from getting in a couple of accidents or having damage to my car. So I guess rule of thumb is just you got to keep your eyes open, be alert all the time, which takes us back to the cell phones. If you're on that phone or playing with that phone, you don't know what's going on around you. I know they got laws against it, but that doesn't mean we still don't we don't do it. We still ought to do it. And I'll be the first to tell you, I've done it myself, and I'm not proud of it. So it's just a bad habit. And nobody's that good of a driver where they could do both. And don't ever think you are, because you're not. And neither am I. So let's put the cell phones down and just drive. Keep our hands on the wheel and pay attention to what's happening around us. That's my opinion. That's Big Joe's opinion on that. All right. How about smoking? Now, smoking has come a long way in this country. I mean, it's like nobody smokes anymore. You know, I don't know what smoking is like. You know, when we were kids, it was cool and this and that, and I guess in other countries it still is. But I truly believe nowadays the kids they don't think it's cool anymore. I mean, it's a pretty nasty habit. You stink. It's not good for you. It's not healthy for you. There's no good comes from smoking. No good comes from it. And a lot of you kids out there, if you're listening, you don't realize it, though, but you could ask your parents or maybe your grandparents. But smoking was, like, everywhere. I mean, can you imagine being on an airplane and people are sitting next to you smoking? They used to. How about you go to the doctor and your doctor's got a cigarette in his mouth when he's giving you a checkup? Or in hospitals, elevators. People smoked everywhere back in the day. I couldn't even imagine that happening today. I mean, a guy walks in an elevator, just had a cigarette. You could smell him. You're like, oh my God, how gross. But no, it's amazing how we've changed our way of lives as Americans today because of things that are bad for you. You know, speaking of that too, how far do you go with it? I mean, the government gets involved in a lot of our lives about a lot of things. Now, I understand the whole smoking thing because, you know, it's like a drug. You know, you got to be a certain age. You know, it's like alcohol. You know, it's free to do, but you have to be a certain age to do it. So, and the government controls it. So, how much control does the government have on you? How about the pop? How about soda pop? They don't want you drinking soda pop. How about the size of the pop you drink? I don't know. What's your opinion on that? You know, I'm kind of on the fence a little bit on that. You know, I think that it's good that we have laws out there and control, because I don't think 15 and 16-year-old kids should be smoking cigarettes or drinking because they're not old enough or mature enough. But I mean, if a kid wants to have a 32-ounce pop, man, I mean, is it right for me to tell him he can't? It's his parents' right, not the government. I mean, how much control should they have over us? How about vending machines? Who says it's wrong to have a Kit Kat, man, if I want a piece of candy? Why do I got to have a healthy snack? You know? If I have a problem with my diet, then it's my parents' problem, not the government. So, I don't know. What do you think? What's your opinion on that? You know, there's so many things out there that we can and cannot do. Those are called choices. I mean, we make good choices, we make bad choices in life. If we make a bad one, we realize it. Hopefully, we don't make it again. Hey, nobody's perfect. You know, I've made some bad choices on things I've done, but I only did it once. I don't do it again. And I don't think there's anything wrong with a guy wanting a Snickers instead of instead of that bird food they put some honey on and they wrap it up and they give it to you, you know, with all those seeds and everything. I'm not even sure that's healthy either. They say it is, but who knows? You know, I mean, people have been living on candy. You know what it is? It ain't the candy that's bad. It's what the government lets them do to make it. If they were using pure sugar in their candy instead of artificial this and artificial that, it probably would be good for you. It's just that the government lets these companies do all this artificial stuff. That's what makes it bad. Look at soda pop. You get Coca-Cola from Mexico. It's got pure sugar in it. You get it from America. It's got corn syrup in it to sweeten it up. Now, which one's better for you? I'm willing to bet that the one from Mexico with the pure sugar in it's better for you and probably tastes better than ours anyhow. So, you know what? The government don't need to make rules that tell us what we can and cannot have. What they do is make rules so they make things better for you, make them pure. You know, like all this artificial sweeteners and all that stuff. They find so many things wrong with that stuff, but yet it's all out there for you to use. So my opinion is this. If you want sugar, have real sugar. If you want to butter your bread, use real butter, not margarine. Go for the real thing. Just don't do too much of it. Because like everything else, everything is good for you and everything is bad for you. If it's done in moderation, you ain't going to have a problem with it. If you overdo anything, you're going to have a problem with it. So much for the government and controlling our diets. All they need to do is give us a little more give us a little longer gym class maybe. We'll all be okay. Do some calisthenics, right? And let's move on to, how about video games? You guys all play video games. I think James is in there playing on his phone right now, to be honest with you. That or he's texting somebody. But now they got all these video games. They're violent and this and that. Are they really bad for you? Do violent video games make a kid bad, or is the kid just a bad kid? You know? You know, there once was a guy named Father Flanagan in Boys Town who said there is no such thing as a bad kid. Well, those were the old days. I don't know about today. I mean, we were kids growing up, cops and robbers, cowboys and Indians. We had guns and spears and swords and knives and all toy stuff. Okay, we didn't grow up violent. This was just the way of life. Look at all the cowboy shows that used to be on. It didn't make us violent. It was the way of life. It was just how life was. It was reality. I think the violence comes within the person. I don't think it's the toys or today the video games. I think it's the person. In fact, probably some of these video games help a person out because it helps with reactions. You know, it makes you concentrate more, which kids need to do today. They need to concentrate more when they're doing things. So, and when you play these video games, you really need to concentrate. So, there's a good side to it. I don't think we should be blaming the kid that loses it and starts shooting up places on a video game. It's not what it is. It's something deeper than that. And it's like anything else. It's what happens at home, being at home, that's where everything starts. You need to have somebody that that cares about you and loves you, and I think your life will be a lot better. It's these poor kids that don't have that. They feel alone. So if you got brothers and sisters, you don't always have to be best friends, but just remember, it's your brother, it's your sister. You still got to love them. You got to be there for them, always and forever. It never ends. So let's not blame games. Let's blame each other. Just be there for your family, and everybody else will be okay. All right, before we take our break, I want to hit on one more subject. How about the language of the United States of America? Now, this is a free country, and people come from all over the world to come here and succeed and live. But isn't English the language of America? Shouldn't everybody learn it? I mean, it's great I wish I knew 5 languages. I wish I could. To me, it's one of the hardest things in the world to do. But if I go and move to Italy, I'm not going to survive unless I could speak Italian. If I go to Greece, I'm not going to survive unless I can speak Greek. If I go to Mexico, I'm not going to survive unless I can speak Spanish. So when people come to America, should they learn to speak English? I mean, do we need to, the more we cater and make things easy for them, the less and less that are going to learn the language. So I don't know. I believe, I would like to hear what your opinion is on this. I believe that people that come here should all learn to speak the language before they be part of the rules of becoming a citizen is knowing the language. I'm not talking about being able to recite a dictionary, but enough to get by. Where they could go take a test, a driving test, that's in English, not in 6 different languages. I mean, a driving test is probably one of the easiest things to pass anyhow. If you can't come here and learn it in English, then you don't deserve a license. My grandparents, they came from their country. They learned the language. They had to survive. Why should we change it now? That's just my opinion. This is America. Our language is English. We should all learn it. Just as if we go anywhere else, we have to learn their language. It's not being mean. It's not being anything. It's just, that's how every other country does it. Why can't we? We welcome anybody to come here. But you want to be an American? Learn their language. Just like if I wanted to become Italian, I'd have to learn their language. Or if I wanted to become Greek or anywhere else I wanted to go. All right. Again, you're listening to Opinion. This is Big Joe. If you want to get involved in the show and give us a call, the next show will be November 19th at 5 p.m. at 708-453-5114. Feel free to call in about anything we talked today or anything we're talking about that day, and we'll be right back.
From the John Navita Broadcast Center, you are listening to Opinions with Joe Rouse on the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network. And now, back to Big Joe.
Hey, how we doing? We're back. This is Big Joe, and you're listening to Opinion. Once again, this show is recorded, so you're going to be listening at a later date. You really can't call in and give me your opinion about things we're talking about, but you will be able to on November 19th at 5 p.m., or between, I should say, 5 and 6 p.m., on Tuesday, November 19th. You can call in and talk about anything we've talked about today or what we're talking about that day. The number you would call would be 708-453-5114. Again, that's 708-453-5114. Now, you don't have to call in and argue with me about anything because it doesn't matter. This ain't about arguing. This is about opinion. We're all entitled. Just because we have two different opinions doesn't mean you're right and I'm wrong, or I'm right and you're wrong. We all see things different ways. You know, they say, there's two sides to every coin. There's two ways of looking at everything. There's a good side. There's a good side, a bad side, your side, my side. There's all kinds of ways of looking at anything, a subject. So I'd be more than glad to share my opinion with you, and I would love to hear yours, because maybe you'll change my opinion. Maybe you'll make me feel differently about something from a personal experience you had or anything else like that. So, again, feel free on Tuesday, November 19th, between 5 and 6 p.m., to call in and share your opinion with Big Joe at 708-453-5114. All right, we were going over a couple topics here, just running around different things that might involve you in your life at this time. And another one is, how about parents, you know? You're in high school. You're getting that age where you're like 15, 16. That's about the age where you become smarter than mom and dad. Now, it happens to almost, not everybody, but almost everybody. Even as good as my kids are and were, when they hit that 15, 16 mark, boy, all of a sudden there was that year there where they were smarter than me. And boy, it was rough. So, when is it when parents should say, you know what, make your own decisions and see what happens? When should the parents give you, when do you think the time is right? Is it an age, or is it, should a parent just kind of go on their ability to notice that you are maturing, whether you're 14 or 16 or 17 or 13, because everybody matures at a different age. What's your opinion on that? I mean, should we just, driver's license, you got to be 16. Smoking got to be 18. Everything's got an age. Everything's got an age on it. Drinking, you got to be 21. But is everything really an age? I mean, here, it's okay to send a young man or woman off to the Army at age 18 and put their life on the line. But it ain't okay for them to go out and have a beer with their mom or dad? I mean, where's the fairness in that? So, when is it time when a parent should trust their children to be on their own and make their own decisions? Because you know what? A kid doesn't really grow up until he makes his own decisions. And because he's going to make wrong ones. And that's how you learn. You learn by your mistakes. Because if you want to do something and mom or dad says, no, you can't do that, it becomes a war. It's a battle now. And that's not good, because now you're fighting with your mother, your father. They're fighting with you. You hate each other for a couple of days because they told you can't do something. Maybe they should let you do it. Just hopefully no harm comes of it. Because a lot of times when they say you can't do something, they know that no good could come of it, or that they know the ending. You just don't, because you haven't lived it yet. I remember my daughter was young. She had a fascination about candles, birthday cakes at parties and stuff like that. Whenever we lit candles for like a birthday cake or whatever, she always wanted to touch the flame. And my wife used to always stop her. And it was like a constant thing. We had to keep watching her. So one time when my wife wasn't around, and my daughter was groping for that candle, I let her do it. She put her hand near that flame. She felt that heat. You know what? She got burnt. Not bad. She just a little burnt. Nothing serious. But she never, ever did it again. So, you know what? My opinion is, if a kid wants to do something, and as long as the outcome is not going to be dangerous, let them do it. Let them learn. You know? If they're embarrassed by it, if they do something that embarrasses them or whatever, shames them in front of somebody, believe me, they'll never do it again. And then let them be mad at you for letting them do it, because they're going to get madder if you try to stop them. Just like when they're dating. Oh, boy. With my daughter, when my daughter brought home a boy I didn't like, the last thing I would say was, you can't date that kid. Because if I said that, they'd still be dating today. You got to let them learn on their own. I got a kind of funny story with that. I don't know. I could share it with you. I came home from work one day, and my daughter's got a new boyfriend. And please, nobody be offended by this, okay? But the kid had a shaved head. And I wasn't a big fan of kids with shaved head at that young of an age, you know, because it usually meant they were whatever. To me, they were kind of a punk. But I didn't like this kid from the first second I saw him. And my daughter brings him up to introduce me to him. I said to him, "Oh, how you doing, Jeff? What's the matter? Do you got cancer?" And my daughter was because my daughter looked at me like I was crazy. Well, he's got no hair on his head. I thought maybe he was going through the treatments. I did that on purpose just to let the kid know I didn't like him. Well, it kind of worked out, because about a month later, my daughter finally did break up with the guy. Thank God. Never told her to. She learned on her own, but thank God she did. Okay, and speaking of kids, now we're going to go down a little younger maybe, but how about child behavior? You know, has that changed over the years? You know, when I was a kid, if you did something wrong, your father gave you a quick boot in the butt, and it was over, because you knew you did something wrong. You know, it's kind of like you would do it with a dog, maybe, you know. Your dog does something wrong, you give it a whack in the butt, and it knows it did something wrong. Like if it went to the bathroom or something, you put his face in, you give him a whack, he knows what he did wrong. That's how they used to do it when we were kids, you know. We learned that way. I don't know. It's now that there's this physical, being physical with a kid, teaching them right from wrong, it's kind of like passé. We don't do that anymore. Is that good or is it bad? You know? I don't know. I think sometimes a swift kick in the butt is a good thing. You know, it shows you care. I don't know. What's your opinion on that? I mean, if a kid does something wrong and all you tell them is, that's wrong, you shouldn't do that, maybe they just don't realize it, the seriousness of it, you know? Because you're not getting mad. You're not mad enough. You know, you have to be mad enough to let them know how bad it is that what they did. I guess. I don't know. So I'm just wondering, what do you think about child behavior? Are kids more unruly today than they used to be? Less respectful, I guess, would be a better way of saying it. Because I know when I was a kid, nobody smarted off to an adult. I mean, if I got in trouble at school, I didn't go home and tell my parents, because if I did, I get whacked at school, and then I'd get whacked at home, because if I got in trouble at school and I told that the teacher spanked me or hit me with the ruler, which they used to do in those Catholic schools back in the day, they would say, "Well, then you did something wrong." They'd take their shoe off and spank you again. You know, but we learn to respect our elders, and we learn to respect people, and we learn that, you know what, you keep your mouth shut. Even though you want to say something, you don't, because it's not the right thing to do. Now, today things seem a little different. Kids are cocked. As far as I'm concerned, I think young people are a little cockier, a little bolder. Is that a good thing? Is it a bad thing? I don't know. I guess in some ways it might be good. Others it may be bad. My opinion is we should go back to the quick kick in the butt when somebody does something wrong and leave it at that, and it's forgotten. But that's just my opinion. I don't know. I'm sure there's a lot of people who would beg to differ. And I'm not talking about being abusive, please. There's a whole different thing there. It's not even a fine line. There's a big separation from what I'm talking about and abusiveness. Okay? We talked about the military earlier. Should they be allowed to go to the schools and try to recruit? You know, I don't know. I think the military is a good thing. I'm all for it. I think that it's a great thing for a kid to do if he doesn't have an idea of what his future is. So I think they should be allowed to go to the schools and talk to these kids and really explain to them how it works, because they don't know. And you know, unless you're a college-bound kid and you have a plan, what are your options? You know, graduating high school or dropping out of high school and looking for a job, or just living at home, or hanging out with friends, or getting an apartment together and kind of running around living freely. That's no life. There's no future in that. And really no good could come of it. You know, there's a saying, you know, that idle time is the devil's time. You know, kids that are bored, don't know what they're doing with their lives, can do nothing but get in trouble. Because there's always trouble out there. There's always things you could do to get yourself in trouble. That's easy. So that's like sports. Hey, kids in high school, I think sports is one of the best things in the world. Not that you got to be a football player, baseball player, and this, but get involved in different. Whether it's there's all kinds of different things. If you're not an athlete and you don't like football or baseball or soccer or whatever they have going, then get in the chess club. They got chess clubs. They got all kinds of clubs. It's called involvement. In my opinion, you need to be involved. You need to fill your time. Kids have energy. They have their brains are dying to soak up information. They need to occupy it. So, get involved with your school. Get involved with a club. If you like sports, get involved with a sport. You ain't got to be the star quarterback. Just get involved. You know, even if you're the second string guy, if you like this, if it's something you like to do, do it. You don't have to be the best one on there. There's no shame in that. You're there. You're doing what you want to do. If you like to play chess, or you like to read, they got book clubs. There's all kinds of different things you could do. Anything's better than going out and just hanging out, because just hanging out leads to nothing but trouble. Okay, you'll be hanging out with kids, and they're going to be doing drinking or doing drugs, and you're going to say, "Oh no, I don't do that. I don't do that." You know what? After a while of hanging out, you're going to do that. Because birds of a feather flock together. You are a product of your environment. You could be the nicest kid in the world, but if you're hanging around bad kids, you'll eventually become a bad kid. Because you become a product of your environment. My opinion is, if you're bored, you're going to get in trouble. So fill your time. No matter what it is, fill your time with something good. Schools offer all kinds of things. Get a part-time job if you want to make extra money so you can buy clothes or do this. Go find yourself a part-time job. Go to work. Go do something. Hanging out is for the weekends. You go and do. I shouldn't say that. Going out is for the weekends with your friends. Not hanging out. You could go out during the week. Have your time filled. Hanging out during the week is wrong, my opinion. Fill your time. Get yourself involved in things. Plan a future. Don't be bored. If you get bored, you'll get in trouble. All right. Now, speaking of trouble, how about dating? Dating can really get you in trouble today. How old should you be where you're allowed to date? Again, it's a maturity thing. But they put a number on it. You know, and what is dating? Is dating where you have a boy come over to the house or a girl come over to the house and spends the has dinner and hangs out with where your mom and dad keep an eye on them, or where you go out and you're alone? How old should you be when How old should you be when mom and dad should let you go out on your own? Now, if you're a boy, it tends to seem like it doesn't really matter for some reason. I guess that never changes. Now, I raised a couple of daughters and a son, but when I had my daughters, they weren't going anywhere with anybody. I can tell you that right now. I don't know about today, but my kids weren't going anywhere with anybody until they were 17, 18 years old. So, that was my opinion. Or my rule, I guess. But, yeah, I don't know. What's your opinion as kids today? Where do you feel safe? I mean, where's mom and dad? Should they feel safe to let you go out on your own on a date? Is it about how you react? If you're mature enough? Do you show that you're mature enough? Or should you say, well, you can't do it till you're this age? You know? Me personally, I think it's all about the person. When you show you're mature enough where you can handle yourself, and they don't have to worry about you doing anything that's stupid, or you can control you go out with a boy, you think you know him, things could go bad right away. So you got to be able, your parents got to be comfortable with the fact that you're going out with this boy and that you can control anything that happens that night. So, if you feel up to it, give me a call. Let me know. In a few weeks from now, on the 19th, that'd be like 3 weeks, I guess, huh? About 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks from now. Give us a call over here at the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network at 708-453-5114, and let us know your opinion about all these things we talked about today. Again, that show will be between 5 and 6 p.m. on Tuesday, November 19th. Now, how about relationships now that we're ending? Say as you get older. If you're 19 and your partner is 15, that's 4 years. It's a big deal. But if you're 29 and your partner's 25, it's 4 years. It's not a big deal. So, does age really matter in a relationship? I mean, I know people that are 20 years apart and they've been married for years. What do you think? What's your opinion on that? Do you think a 20-year span in a relationship is healthy, good, bad? Does it matter? When you're kids, should a 17-year-old go out with a 21-year-old? Different rules. The 21-year-old's allowed to go into bars, drink. 17, 18, even an 18-year-old is not. Should a parent allow you to go out with somebody that old? Because he's going to be bringing you in an environment that you're not old enough to be in. So there's a lot to figure out on that about age. The age of the ages in a relationship. I'd like to know what you think. I know what I think. I don't think anybody should go anywhere till they're 21. No, just kidding. But my opinion is that if you're mature enough and responsible enough, you should be able to do whatever you want. I was fortunate. My kids were that way. And hopefully you guys are too. So we're going to take a little break here, John, for a second. And we will be right back.
Joe, just before we go on break, my opinion is that the male should be older than the female.
Okay, well, I agree with that.
This way he's got seniority over her.
Yeah. I like that, John. Very good. We'll be right back.
From the John Levita Broadcast Center, you are listening to Opinions with Joe Rouse on the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network.
Okay, we're back. Again, this is Big Joe. You listen to Opinion. Another reminder, once again, on November the 19th at 5 p.m., we're going to be doing another show here. Again, these are all pre-recorded, so You have to call if you want to call in. You have to call in between 5 and 6 on the Tuesday, November 19th at 708-453-5114. And you'll be able to hear us while we're the show. We'll talk live, and you can talk about, give me an opinion, anything you want, anything we've talked about in the past, whatever. It's all up to you. I'd love to talk to you and share opinions with you and give you my opinion. And I don't care about anything you like, whether it's your school, your anything, your relationships, your report card, no, anything you want. All right, we're going to go change the pace here a little bit and talk about something a little different. I'm not sure how you all feel about UFOs and alien life and all that kind of stuff, but there's been a lot of talk about different things on the internet, and even I've seen in the paper about aliens and other life forms, and what's the possibility? They had an article about a week or so ago in the paper about we all might have came from Mars. Again, I know that's a stretch, but it's all what you want to believe. But now, what's your opinion on aliens or people living on other planets? Is it possible? Do you think it is? I mean, if you look at down in history, there's things that were built thousands of years ago, before horses were even domesticated, to where they can use them to help move boulders. This Puma Punka is a large temple. They have boulders that weigh 400 tons. Now, how many you can't? I don't know how many people you could have that could even move that. You couldn't get enough people together to move something that heavy. But yet, these stones were moved miles from according to history, from different quarries. How did it happen? Who did it? Okay, how about Stonehenge in southern England? They got 30 upright stones that are 10 feet tall, weighing 26 tons each. Okay, they had to stand those things up. Plus, there's 30 that lay across the top of them. So, and those weigh like 6 tons each. So how did they get a 6-ton stone to lay on top of two 26-ton stones? Without horses, without anything. I don't know. I can't even imagine. There's all kinds of things that happen in time and life. There's that proves that there may be aliens out there. They've got drawings they find in caves from caveman times, from all over the world. Drawings that show something in space. They say that there's as many grains of sand on the Earth are planets out in the universe. Okay? So that's a lot of planets. Would it be crazy to think there's life on some other planet than ours? Or would it be crazy to say there's not life on another planet? I don't know. My opinion is I believe in Star Trek. I think that our future is Star Trek. I think we're gonna one day be able to fly around the universe and go into other universes and through these things, and we're gonna find life all over. I think there's plenty of it out there. I just don't think the technology. Well, we don't have the technology to go find them, and who knows? They may be watching us, and we don't even know it. I mean, can it be possible? Would it be foolish to think that this is the only planet that there's life? Or maybe there was life forms on other planets and they died off. Just like ours. Eventually this planet's going to die off and then we'll be moving on to another one. Hopefully we'll have the technology. Everything dies. I know this planet's been around for millions of years. How much longer does it have? I don't know. What happens when this planet dies out? Maybe it never will. I don't know. But nothing lasts forever, as they say. So, is there life on other planets? Are we ever going to get to go there? If you look around, if you look it up on your computer, just look up, amazing things in history that they can't explain. There's so many things that were built I mean, the pyramids, they kind of explained. They did that with manpower, amazingly enough. But there's rocks and there's temples and these things that were built that they're tongue and grooved and placed, and it's just it's amazing how the technology they had. That's just like back in the day with what am I thinking here? The Incas back in the stars and how they read the stars. It was amazing. I mean, there's in Guatemala, the Mayan ruins. The Mayans were astrologers. They knew as much back then as we knew today with all the equipment we had. They were able to read the stars, the moons, and they actually came up with the 365-day calendar. Only they did it in 18 months. They had 20-day months instead of 30 like we do. But the total days were the same. And they actually built little pyramids and stuff it's amazing. It's just the knowledge they had. I mean, where did they get it from? It's how the things were built back in those days. There's so many things. And what do you think? Would you want to be on a spaceship to go find aliens on another planet? Or what happens if what happens if one ever came here? How would we approach them? Whatever happens if we had to make contact with an alien? How would we approach it? Should we be scared? Should we feel automatically that we're threatened? Or should we feel that they're just as scared as we are and be friendly? Just because they're aliens, they're from another planet, doesn't mean they're here to hurt us, does it? I know they got TV shows. It's always the aliens come here because their planet's dying. They want to take over ours, but that's movies. I don't know if that's really true. You know, maybe there are other life forms out there. Maybe one day we'll know. Maybe one day we'll be friends. Maybe one day we'll be able to travel from planet to planet and find out. You know, everything seems to come true sometimes, like when you see on TV. So maybe Star Trek will come true one day, and we'll be able to go travel light speed. Light speed, Scotty. But anyhow, I just thought I'd end the show with something crazy, and like to know what your opinion is on some life forms, because me personally, my opinion, I think we're fools if we think we're the only people that only living organism on a planet. With all those planets out there, there's got to be other life forms. I just can't wait to see them. How about you? So, anyhow, once again, thanks for listening. This is Big Joe. You're listening to Opinion. Again, November 19th, Tuesday, November 19th at 5 p.m. We're going to have another show. And the number you can call is 708-453-5114. And believe me, I would love to talk to you. It's a lot easier talking to somebody for a little while than just talking to myself for a whole hour. So come join me. Put it in your books. Have some fun with me. And I look forward to talking to you. Once again, thanks for listening. This is the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network. And this is Big Joe signing off. And this is Opinion. Good night.
You have been listening to Opinions with Joe Rouse from the John DeVita Broadcast Center on the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network. This broadcast was directed by John DeVita, and our audio engineer is James Rohde. This program was pre-recorded on Wednesday, October the 30th, the year 2013. Be safe, and thanks for listening.